I remember this. There was two women walking towards me. They stopped me, said, "Well, what is it you do?" And I explained it to them, and they both looked at each other quite sheepishly. And they were like, "Oh God!" And I was like, "Oh, have you been affected by this too?" They're like, "No, we're CAFCAS officers." And I was like, "This is going to be awkward." Both of them signed the petition there and then.
Ladies and gentlemen, mums and dads, children of all ages, welcome to the Family Court Voice podcast, episode 1. It is my honour to welcome our first special guest and speaker, the man who walked the coast of Britain, the man who stood in front of the Houses of Parliament, the man who is inspiring thousands of families, the Viking warrior himself, deadbeat dad bod, Michael Love.
King warrior.
I remember you called yourself that when you were sending out messages for the meetup. You said, "I'm the Viking-looking dude, you won't miss me."
Well, everyone found me.
We found you.
That was all right.
You were an easy guy to spot, but I do remember sort of turning up then. It's like, I really want to say hello. Hi, I've seen you on TikTok. But I didn't want to embarrass myself, so I kind of stood in the background. But no, really appreciate that. And as you know, wanted to get this podcast going. There's going to be 3 main points that I would like to cover as a bit of a theme throughout this podcast as we're moving forward with all the guests. I want to keep it simple. What are you doing to raise awareness about the family court systems? You know, so I'd be interested in things like the walk, the protest, the petition, the results of your campaign work. What's next for you? Things like your experience within the family court system, your experience with child services, the judges, the effects on your child and your relationship, and what needs to change. And then finally, I think it's really important because I've noticed, not just you, in other interviews and podcasts, but also the wider community, there's a huge focus on mental health, the effects on parents as the individual, the effects on the child, which I think is super important. And also, you know, things like, what do you do to stay positive? So they're the kind of main themes that I want to kind of track back to throughout the conversation. But obviously, the floor is yours. I want to hear your stories about those themes, but yeah, tell us, what do you want to talk about?
We've been fighting a long time, and we have all lost so very much, so many loved ones gone. But you are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink.
I suppose the start is the best place to start. So the walk then. So why I decided to do the walk near enough just on a complete whim. I originally knew that there was an issue, and my original plan was to set up a petition and just share it around and get people to sign it. I learned very quickly that despite everyone's best interest, no one's really interested in signing a petition that's just getting floating around. So I decided, all right, I'll start going into towns and ask people to sign this petition. It was really important to me. I did it maybe 20 minutes in my local town before I realised I just looked like a godbother that was just annoying everybody. So I put a pin in that straight away. And then I remembered during COVID, I was following the journey of a guy called Christopher, who's from Folkestone. He walked the coast of Britain to raise awareness for homelessness. He did it with no money, no support, no nothing. He was literally just clothes on his back, boots on his feet. And I remember back then thinking I would love to do that. But then it kind of fell into another category where I realised, actually, one of the best places I could go is to the beach, because it's just like the start of summer. There's going to be families galore everywhere. And maybe I can get them to sign my petition. And then the ideas kind of came together. I was like, well, why don't I just keep going? So sort of Forrest Gump it to some extent, where I just keep going to each beach until I get all the way around. So I thought, all right, what I'll do then, I will walk the coastline, talking to everybody, explaining why I'm doing it, and then get them to sign it there and then. And that's what I did. It took me 2 weeks of prep, 2 weeks for me to go, right, that's it, I quit my job. I was renting at the time. Lord was an amazing bloke called Andy. And when I approached him to speak about that I'm going to have to leave the house, he asked why. I told him why. It turns out he'd been exposed to the issue that I had issues with. So the very first person I met that I actually related to was the landlord of the house I had that I was asking to take off me a bit earlier. Anyway, so not only did he let me do it, he actually contributed to my GoFundMe. Now, when I left to go on the walk, the very first day, I actually left within the mindset that, the courts are against dads. It's such a sexist, horrible place. And I was immediately humbled. The very first person I bumped into was this multicolored haired lady from Bexhill, the first town I I got to. She stopped me. She saw a chihuahua hanging out of my bag and a big flag poking out the top. She was like, what are you doing? I explained it to her. She signed my petition there and then she explained to me that she's going through the exact same things. And I was like, this is crazy. How has it happened to you, a lady, a woman? This doesn't happen to women. So yeah, immediately humbled by the very first person I bumped into. And then after that, I started looking into it. So maybe this isn't a dad's issue. Maybe this is an issue that does affect everybody. It's just a bit more taboo when women talk about it. Naturally, whenever you speak to anybody, they'll think, oh, we're in family courts. The usual go-to scenario is a dad that's being restricted from the kids from the mother. That's how it usually and statistically works out, but it's not always the case. Anyway, that was the day one, week one, hour one. My mindset flipped entirely. I was like, actually, this is a bigger issue than I initially thought it was. Now, I obviously was on TikTok doing updates. Now, to be honest with you, those updates were more or less for me, so I could remember where I was at what day, and it was just me ranting, to be honest. I was just like, day one of my... I used to say this. Yeah, no, but at the very early videos, every single day I'd go, day 2 of my walk around the UK coastline to promote to highlight the inequality of the UK family courts. Then gradually I got sick of saying it. So I was like, and then I realised that people were getting sick of watching it. So I thought, all right, I'll try to spice it up a bit and just try and put a little bit of humour in it, which sounds morbid. I thought this is what I'm interested in when I go on TikTok. If someone sat there whinging, I'd lose interest straight away. But if someone's doing something vaguely funny to get a message across, I always pay a bit more attention. The walk, I have to admit, for the first maybe 4 or 5 weeks, no one paid any interest. It wasn't until I did a video on Kafkas. I basically interviewed myself pretending to be a Kafkas worker, and that one got some traction.
Was it the one where you were being interviewed by the Welsh-sounding...
Yes, yeah, my terrible Welsh accent. But accents aren't my forte, to be honest with you. But
it was very entertaining. I've seen that one. It was entertaining and painful at the same time because I knew exactly what you were trying to say.
Yeah. And now the only reason I did a Welsh accent, by the way, is because about 10 minutes before that, I could see Wales from where I was. So I was like, well, I'll try and put on a Welsh accent. And it just didn't land at all. I ended up sounding a little bit New Zealand-esque by the end of it. But yeah, for the first few weeks, it was horrible because no one really cared. Everyone I spoke to, well, I say spoke to, it was a peak of summer. What I didn't realise is that most people going on the beach are the perfect family unit. The last thing they want is someone coming up to them going, can you sign my petition for equality in the family court? So I made the decision not to pester people or to outright stop everybody. If anyone asked me what I was doing or why, I'd give them some information and just give them a link to my petition. If they wanted to sign it, they could. If they weren't interested, that's great. But what I ended up doing was anyone that spoke to me, and I mean, there wasn't a single person I spoke to that had no idea what I was talking about. Every single person that stopped me, as soon as they found out what I was doing, they could relate in some way. It might not have been from their experiences personally, but someone they know very closely is going through it.
Mm-hmm.
Not one person had anything positive to say to me about it. And I thought, that can't be right. There must be somebody that's had a positive experience from this process. There must be. I later went on to learn that the only people that have actually got success stories from it are the people that have either near on bankrupted themselves going through it, or the other parent just gave up and just like, oh, whatever, I just can't be bothered anymore. Which for a system that we're all relying on for access to our own kids isn't something that should be working that way. I actually got to Bognor Regis, so I started in St Leonard's in Sussex. It wasn't until I got to Bognor Regis there was some vague traction happening because there was a charity in Wales that got hold of me. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I thought he was going to ring me up to offer assistance. But he basically said, "Give up. Like, you're not the first person to fight this. You won't be the last. You're going to be a blip in the radar. The system's not going to change at all. So just give up, mate. You're wasting your time."
I hear the same.
I was like, yeah. I was like, why is it like that though? If everyone knows it's wrong, why is it so universally accepted as wrong and still universally accepted? And the straight up answer was money. It's like, there's too much money in the chaos that we're currently relying on. No one is willing to spend more money or waste more money than a grieving parent. It's just a money pit. And the way he explained it to me, I just thought, that's disgusting. Now, you need to remember, at this point, similar to yourself, I wasn't restricted access from my child at all. I was still seeing him every other weekend. But when we went to court, I actually pushed for primary carer, and I would have been happy to settle a 50-50 shared care, which was what I was told to do by my solicitor. And then when I walked out and they gave me 4 days a month and I think 7 of the 13-week school holidays, I was like, how is this equal parenting? Why am I meant to be expected to be happy with this setup? This isn't fair. I've been with this kid his whole life, and now he's only going to see me once a fortnight.
So on your walk, you must have met some interesting people along the way. Tell me about some of the people you met. Have you got any stories that you could tell us about?
Yeah, absolutely. I met just about every nutter you could possibly think of for a start. Some of the most bizarre characters ever. There was a woman who I met in Plymouth who, when she found out what I was doing, she started crying, and then she started just taking money out of her purse to give me money. I was like, whoa. I don't need any money. I just want a signature on a petition. And she's like, bless you, you're doing this so you can see your kid more. And then I had to console her and explain to her, I was like, no, it's not so I can see my kid more. It's so my kid doesn't have to go through what I went through to see his kid more. She actually ended up following me on pretty much every social media thing going, and she still to this day messages me at least once a week to check them all. I met some very interesting characters on the way around. I met a guy, I'm not going to name him on here because as soon as I do, he's going to get flooded. But I met a guy in Barnstable who not only put me up for a few days, but he gave me a flyby on a cliff face. And it turns out he's an actual wizard as a Mackenzie friend, and he can perform genuine magic tricks in a courtroom. But I'll leave it for him to explain that one day. I was on the Wales Coast Path in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and I was absolutely knackered. And I remember there was 2 women walking towards me, quite vigorously walking with their sticks. And I was like, all right, game face on. They're definitely going to ask. They stopped me, said, well, what is it you do? And I explained it to them, and they both looked at each other quite sheepishly. And they were like, oh, God. And I was like, oh, have you been affected by this too? They're like, no, we actually work for Kafkas. We're Kafkas officers. And I was like, oh, God, this is going to be awkward. Both of them signed the petition there and then. They actually scanned the QR code on my phone to sign it. I was like, what is... I did not expect that. I thought you were going to like come up with applause. And they're like, no, it's been awful for years, pretty much since Kafkas started. As soon as you tell anybody you're a Kafkas officer, they just think you're trying to take my kids away. But we're so heavily burdened with protocol, not just policy, protocol, case numbers. In every way you can be overburdened, they are. And then to add to the fact that they're actually dealing with high conflict parents that are just trying to see their kids day in and day out. How these people have managed to stay sane this long, I have absolutely no idea. But they stood there and explained, it's like, no, it needs to change. There needs to be something, whatever it is, we don't know, but something needs to change. Now, then I explained to them my idea of 50-50, because a lot of people just go, it should be 50-50 equal parenting. It's only fair, but it's a very blanket thing to say when you put it that way. What I'm suggesting isn't that everybody gets 50-50. Equal parenting. I'm saying that should be the starting point.
Yeah.
If you walk into a family courtroom, the judge, before he hears anything, it says, I know you two mofos made this kid together. So as it currently stands, I don't care what your background is. You're both equally responsible for that child. Now the burden of proof should be telling me why that can't be the case. Then the only other thing for that to work that we need to be in place is there being some form of deterrent or punishment for lying. Because this is one of the biggest things that blew my mind when I went through the court process, is that you can go in there and say absolutely anything. It doesn't matter how long-winded or insane it sounds. To some degree, they will believe it just because it's been said. But false allegations in the court. I'm not going to lie and say that when I first went to court, I didn't try and nitpick at everything that she was doing or every misdemeanor she'd ever made just to try and make me look better, because it was always in a response to something she'd say. It always escalated every time, not just in the courts, but as soon as the courts are mentioned, every email, every WhatsApp, every message you have is just a one-up of each other. Oh, I'm going to use that. And it's like a big reveal. You get to the courtroom and go, look what they said. But it gets to the point where you just got to realise, actually, this crap's got anything to do with the kid. So I thought, right, I'll go in there and I'll just say, look, I don't have any issues against her. I just want equal access to my kid. I'm not suggesting she's done anything or said anything. I just want to see my kid. But that's not how it works. because she still carried on doing the
Mm-hmm.
nitpicky, I'm going to call it flinging shite until something sticks. All right. Even though I had irrefutable evidence to suggest everything she said was just completely made up. The courts don't look at that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I lost access to my child over false allegations.
Was
And
there a
some of
fact
them,
finding?
I've never had a fact finding. I requested one, but I was told by my barrister that if we go for a fact finding, it's going to delay the outcome, which is going to only hinder the access you get. The longer you leave it, the less access you're going to have, or it's going to be a longer build-up, a bit longer reintroduction. I was like, look, I just want to get out of it as fast as possible with as much access as I can possibly get. What do I need to do that? And yeah, so I went off what my really cheap and friendly, helpful barrister told me, and I ended up getting less time than I actually would have settled at. Not what I was fighting for, but yeah, it was awful. But when I walked out there and she was shaking my hand saying, "Congratulations, you've won." I'm like, how have I won? I've now got a restricted bit of paper that says I can see my kids once a fortnight and no phone calls unless I come back and beg for those as well. But I mean, by the time we got that final hearing, we'd been through so many issues with the courts that I could be here all day just explaining step by step where they went wrong. And in some cases admitted it, but rather than actually doing anything about it, they just, oh, bygones be bygones. We'll just pretend that didn't happen. False allegations. Those are the two things I was petitioning for. 50-50 is an equal shared care starting point, and false allegations to have some sort of repercussions.
So this was all before you started your TikTok channel, before you started before you started doing crazy things like standing in front of the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah. This was the back end of 2023. Well, no, 2021 actually. I was living in Wiltshire. My son had moved with his mother down to Sussex. In that time, however, I moved to Sussex as well. I begged her. I was like, look, I live 2 streets away. I just want to see my kid more. I don't want to go back to court. I just want to be left alone and to parent. I've got a house. I've got a very well-paying job, which she knows damn well I do. There's nothing this child wants more from me. I've got no criminal history. He's never made a complaint against me. Nothing. And her response was, no, go back to court. It was at that point that I just snapped. I realized at that point that this is my life for the next 10 years. If I want to see him, if I want to hug him after a school play, if I want to take him to school, not just picking up from it one day, if I want to take him on holiday, if I want to do homework with him, if I want to do anything, if he wants to do any of this stuff with me, I have to go through this long-winded 9-month minimum process to get any of that. And I just thought this isn't right. This is wrong. Whereas if we went to court, first and foremost, I don't think we would have ever been to court in the first place if it wasn't an automatic 50-50 from the start, because there'd have been no need to do it. In my opinion, if the courts looked at it as right, if you come through our doors, we're starting it as equal. If you have any other arrangement before that, I'd suggest you sort it out before you get here. It might deter people away from going to court in the first place, especially when you consider that there's quite literally nothing in lieu of the court process. People can argue and say, oh, well, you've got mediation, but that is just diet court. It's you do it because you have to. No one wants to go to mediation because it's pants. You can go into mediation, agree on one thing and walk out the door and just completely disregard it because it's not legally binding at all. It's just an agreement that you've paid someone an extortionate amount of money to sit in the room and witness. What is the point of it? So that was my snapping point. And to be honest, before I snapped, I was like, I can't cope with this. I'm in this woman's pocket for the rest of my life now. If I don't bow and do everything that this woman says, and I cringe at the level of ass kissing I did before I snapped just to keep her happy. I'd be ranting her texts saying, you know what, Sussex is lovely. I'm so glad you moved down here. This is great for the kids. When really I was just like, this is a dump. We live in the arse end of nowhere. I'm just doing this just to see my kid. And every time I get any bit closer to seeing him more, you just revert back to court.
What led you to start the TikTok channel and start the walk? I
started the walk first before the TikTok channel. Well, I actually started them both the same day, and it was just it was just like word soup coming out. I actually cringed looking back at the videos I made a year ago, but it wasn't until I was nearly a quarter of the way through that I started doing the funny stuff, as it were, because no one was interested before that. But I noticed that there was a direct relation to how funny the video was to how many signatures I'd get that day. So every day I was like, oh, I need to think of something else. But yeah, the TikToks, so the Deadbeat Dad Bod page was originally called something else. I can't remember what it was, but I basically used to do memes and funny videos that were related to the family court, but anonymously. No, like I didn't show it was me or anything. It was just stuff that they used to make me chuckle. And then when I started doing the Deadbeat Dad Bod stuff, I then changed it all over to Deadbeat Dad Bod. And I'm surprised it's me. But yeah, originally I wasn't getting any traction on TikTok. It was all on Facebook. And I never got a grip of it. I still don't really know how Instagram works. It's just all, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say something about OnlyFans, but it doesn't matter. That's just my algorithm, apparently.
Are you on OnlyFans as well? Can we?
Not yet. No,
Not
I haven't
yet.
got to that point. I considered it when I got back and realised I didn't have a house or a job. No, I got back on my feet quite quickly, thankfully.
But for me, it was funny to talk to you the other day, because you said something that really resonated with me, and that was, I hate doing social media. I hate doing the TikTok videos. It really bothers me, but I do it because I have to. And in a way, I feel very similar to you. I'm not keen on spending my entire life on social media and seeing how many likes and comments I've got. But like you say, it's a necessary evil to try and build awareness and trying to share your story and trying to get some interaction with people that are going through the same thing. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't come across a guy walking along the coast with a little dog saying, I'm going to be standing in front of the Houses of Parliament on Parental Alienation Day. At this time, I'll be there on my own. Come and stand with me. I'll be there regardless. And I just thought to myself, I'm going to go and find that guy. I had no idea how to find you or what to do. I think I tried to read your messages and groups and go scrolling back through. I managed to find the date and the meeting time, and I was like, right, I'm going to make my way. How did that idea come about? Was that something that came about on the walk, or had you planned that already?
So this kind of goes hand in hand with what I learned on the walk, as opposed to an idea or plan I had. I was just about to cross over to Wales when someone said to me, what is it you're doing? And I explained to them, I'm walking around the whole British coast for family court reform. And they said, what, in England and Wales or Scotland? I was like, well, all three. Well, why are you walking around Scotland if it's completely different law up there? And I was like, what? So I was like, what? Why is it if it's just there?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's quite far, especially from where I am, but it's right there. Why is it not the same law? Oh, no, Scotland's got its own law, and then England and Wales has got. So I was like, just off the top of my head, I was like, well, I am not walking around Scotland. There's no point in that. I can't think of anything that would get me stabbed more if I went to Scotland and said, do you know how shit it is in England and Wales? Yeah, it's just shit here, mate. I can't do Scottish or Welsh. But yeah, that was the first step in the, hang on a minute, why is it like that? Which then I started doing a bit of research. I started talking to people. Obviously, by this point, there was some people that reached out to me that gave me loads of advice, gave me loads of knowledge, sending me lots of documents. And it was roughly the same time I got wind of the APPG report. And that, I actually remember I was in between Newport and Cardiff when I read that. And I just stopped, put my rucksack down and started crying because I was like, this is the first time I've seen it written down on paper, exactly what I thought was going on. But it's in black and white, written by the people that have not just lived with it, but ran it, was sponsored by it, contributed to it. Even the foreword was from Andrew McFarlane, the guy that's in charge of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so everybody is aware of this issue, but no one's doing anything about it. So I thought, right, I can't be the first person that's done a petition against this. So
just for everyone, I know that you've sent me the report as well. I'm going to have a good read of it. I think it's going to be one of those ones that needs a bit of attention and thought behind it. But could you just give everyone an idea of what the three main takeaways that you came out after reading that were?
Yeah, so for the all-party parliamentary group report from March 2024, it was done in direct relation to everybody basically complaining about the structure and the format of the family court process. If I was to say the three main things that came from it is that, number one, it is adversarial, it is broken, and it is outdated. They've admitted this. This is their words, not mine. Number two, that there is way too many arms reach organizations that are making ridiculous amounts of profit from it. And number three, they've actually got a very detailed and structured plan on what needs fixing. And what they're essentially saying is that equal shared custody, very similar to other countries such as Sweden, Denmark, should be the custom. Anything financially incentivized, i.e. solicitors, barristers, anything should be just removed. There's no need for it. Legal aid is a joke. They completely destroy the whole process. And unlike before, where it was just a disgruntled, annoyed parents I'd spoke to, this was written by ex-barristers, current lawyers, solicitors, even Women's Aid contributed to me. That blew my mind. Fathers' rights groups contributed to it. It was a massive, like, oh my God, this is basically what I've been asking for. But yeah, it's a report made by and for Parliament to express the issues with the family court process, and it was only completed just over a year ago. So this is as new as it gets. Now that then got me thinking, well, surely someone's petitioned for this before then, because it wouldn't have got to that point unless it already had been petitioned for. So I put in a freedom of information request, and I found out that there'd been hundreds of petitions before the very similar worded to what I'd put in. All of them got the required amount of signatures. All of them were ignored. There was one in 2017 that actually got through into Parliament, and it was discussed. It was even approved and was made a bill. And then as soon as it got to the other side of being made a bill, it was just ignored again. So I thought, all right, with the petition, it's not going to do anything. I need to do a protest. I think I was in, I'm going to torture this now. It's in Llandudno, North Wales. That's the one. I was there just about to go over to Colwyn Bay when I just decided, you know what, there's no point in me pushing out this petition because it's been petitioned. People know it's not right. I'm going to take the rest of this journey to promote a protest, and that's how the protest worked. All protest was planned.
Can I stop you for a moment? There's something I just want to share with yourself and anybody that's watching right now, and I want to get your feedback and reaction on this. Do you mind?
Yeah, sure.
So we're not here out of hate, but we're here out of love, because we care deeply, painfully about what the system is doing to our families. I'm not a politician. I'm not here for attention. I'm just a dad who did everything right. You got it? I slept on the floor of my son's room for 2 years. He had night terrors. I used to play Ennio on repeat just to get to sleep. And now I'm not even allowed to be involved in anything unless it's written in black and white in a court order, which, let's be honest, was about as enforceable as a pinky promise from the toddler. There was no abuse, no threats, just a disagreement. The kind every family has, but instead of support, we're handing a system built to turn the disagreement to a full-scale war. Now I speak to the mother of my child like I'm in a courtroom, because every word can be twisted. And I know I'm not the only one. We're all here because we've lived this, or loved someone who has. Some of you have been erased. Some of you have been drained financially, emotionally, and spiritually. And most of us have spent months, years, thousands, just trying to be present in our own children's lives. So what do we want? I'm going to make it very clear what we want. We want 50-50 equal shared parenting from the start.
No, man.
Not after 10 hearings, not after false allegations. If both parents are safe, loving and willing, this should be the starting point, not the end goal, not the prize for who argues best. We want fast-track panels for abuse claims, independent, time-limited and fair, because real victims deserve protection, and false allegations destroy lives before the truth can even catch up. We want legal protection against relocation without consent. If no more children moving hundreds of miles away with no warning, no discussion and no consequence. If you break that trust, there should be accountability. We want a real CAFCAS reform, trauma-informed training, external oversight, strict report deadlines. Because when your words influence a child's entire future, you need to answer for them. We want an independent family court ombudsman, not a review board, not a complaints inbox that goes nowhere. We want a watchdog with a bite, because when decisions fail children, someone must be held accountable. These aren't pipe dreams. These aren't radical. Other countries are already doing it. Sweden, France, Germany, Australia, Canada, they all have shared care as the default starting point. And guess what? It works a hell of a lot better. There's fewer court cases, better outcomes for kids, less stress, more healing. So what's stopping us in the UK? It's one thing. Conflict is profitable. Every extra hearing, every solicitor's letter, every CAFCAS report, it all adds up. not for the families, but for the people profiting from our pain. So let me say it loud and clear. We're not customers. We're not visitors. We're not second class. We're active parents, says. We're not here for ourselves. We're here for every dad crying in a car park after another missed contact. For every mum told she's too emotional to be trusted. For every child stuck in the middle, wondering why love has to be scheduled by the court. This doesn't end today. This is not just a protest. This is the start of something louder. This is a movement, and it starts with us. So to the MPs in that building, we're done asking, we've written, we've marched, and we've waited. Now we're demanding. Fix this, or be ready to see us again, and again, and again, until it's done. Because we're not broken, we're not bitter, we're not going away. We're the voice of every child too young to speak. We're the strength of every parent too tired to keep fighting. Family that the system tried to fracture and fail. We're active parents, and together we won't be erased.
God, do I really sound like that?
You sounded pretty good to me from where I was standing. I was literally standing right next to Richie, who recorded that video, because he'd done some really nice captions on his, and I thought I'll show his. But it was something for me to be there, standing literally in front of you. Looking at that now, I probably watched it a zillion times already.
That's the first time I've watched it.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
No, I'm not.
So,
no. I've seen it pop up, and I'm like, I can't watch it. I can't watch it.
The
exact 2 points I almost choked up. I was like, I can't watch it.
So I've got a bit of a bone to pick with you. Ever since we've been chatting more regularly on the phone, Enya keeps popping up on my Spotify playlist, and I kid you not. But on a more serious note, as I was saying, looking at that now, I didn't even know that's the first time you've watched that. Tell us how you feel looking back at that moment in time, and tell us a little bit about that day.
So, I mean, well, about the day, I didn't have any plans to do that speech. I wrote it, but I didn't actually plan on reading it. I know in the video it looks like I'm reading off a bit of paper, but I'm actually reading it off my phone. I saved it on my notes, because I'd actually walked there from Sussex the day before. So I thought, if I just tip up in a car or something, it's going to ruin the whole image that I've walked all the way around. So I walked from Sussex up there. And on the way there, I thought, oh, God, what if they want a speech or something? So I wrote it on the way then. But I was genuinely not expecting anybody to tip up, to be honest. On the morning of the protest, my phone nearly blew up with the amount of people apologising for not coming up. That's fine. If people can't make it, it was a Friday, I get it. But when people started slowly tipping up, I was like, oh, God, there's actually people here taking this seriously. It's not just me, thank God. But no, watching that back now, it's all true. I'm still just as bitter now as I was then. The whole thing is just so needlessly adversarial, and it doesn't need to be like that. The only reason it isn't, from what I can see, is because there's too many people making money from it. And those people just happen to be the people in charge of it. So,
well, just so you know, I was at the point now where I was starting to listen to the people telling me, give up, don't waste your time, move on, park it, forget about it, you're not going to win, it's a broken system, just learn to live with it and accept it. And I'd kind of got to that point now where it's like, yeah, I'll just forget about it. And standing there, watching you, meeting the other people, chatting to them, it really inspired basically this channel and this podcast.
Oh, cool.
So meeting those people, meeting you has inspired me to get back online and me to do this. So it's very bizarre that you were the first person that I reached out to. It's not bizarre. It just seemed like that seemed to be the logical thing to do. Reach out to Michael. He's probably going to think, who's this fella reaching out to me? I was there at your thing. I watched you on TikTok. Expecting you to say, look, I'm really sorry. I don't have time for this. I'm too busy. I'm far too important for your little podcast. And, the first thing you said was, absolutely, let's do this. And I said, don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm feeling my way forward. Hope that's okay. You're like, don't care. Let's do it. I'll help you. So really appreciate that.
it's fine.
But one thing that I do want to ask is the walk, the petition, the protest. This is really important. What are your results from that?
So I ended up getting something considerably, for me anyway, I got something a lot better than what I was expecting. I wanted the petition. I wanted that to get past the door. Then I wanted the protest to actually have an effect. But what it actually gave me overall was a better understanding of it's not just me. This is an issue that's so much bigger than me. But to answer your question, the petition did absolutely nothing. The protest
Tweet FA.
did absolutely nothing. And I think I spoke to you about this the other day. It made me laugh that we're in this day and age still where people think protests and petitions do anything anyway. Interestingly, I actually looked this up for a rant I was having the other day. The last time a petition was actually accepted in Parliament was to do with the rehoming of police dogs in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
There's been maybe 300,000 petitions made since then, and not one of them has. Okay, a lot of them have been accepted. In fact, I'll give you a prime example. There was one the other day that reached, I think, 2 million signatures within about a day against the digital ID cards. I will bet every penny I have that there will be a response to it, but it'll be a generic response from someone in HR and Parliament that just goes, no. That's what they do. That's what petitions do. Yes, it gives you the nice, warm, fuzzy feeling that you're actually achieving something and making change. But realistically, it achieves nothing unless it just so happens to coincide with something that Parliament want to do anyway. So that's with the petition. With the protest, bear in mind, I thought it was just going to be just me. I don't think it would make a difference if it was just me or between 150,000 and 2 million people tipping up in London. That was a direct reference to the protest recently, or whatever the hell it was, and it doesn't interest me at all. But it just goes to show that protests don't really achieve anything unless there's action involved in them.
So, Michael, tell us about the next plans. What's the plan to do something or to make some change?
So, obviously, I learned the hard way, and arguably the hardest way you can learn, that protests and petitions don't really achieve anything. Which got me thinking, okay, then what do people care about? What is it? We're in the day and age, like you mentioned before, of social media. Social media is the only way that you can get anyone to pay attention or be interested. And then once you've got their interest, you then get their attention. So I thought, right, what I'm going to start doing is, initially I was going to do more protests. There's no point. Protesting is not going to achieve anything. It's a minor annoyance to people. That's probably it. What I'm going to start doing is organising information handouts up and down the country. And by up and down the country, I mean outside quite literally every single courtroom. I'm going to start handing out information bundles to people going in and coming out of it. That information bundle will include that APPG report. It's like, this isn't just me as a disgruntled individual randomly giving you information in the middle of the street because I've been burnt by the system, but you might want to read this before you go through those doors. Because the second you go through those doors, that is it. There is no good ending from it. You're going to come out 10 times more miserable, and the people that are in there making these decisions are going to come out with all your money. And if we can get more people to understand that, more people will stop using it. And if more people stop using it, they're going to have to change it. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of very rich people that are losing quite a considerable amount of money. So that's one of the ideas I've got going on. It's not just the court process that I particularly have an issue with as well, because during my walk, I obviously wasn't working. And because I wasn't working, there was somebody relying on my money that wasn't receiving their money, which meant that lovely little company CMS started contacting me. I said, look, I'm not working right now. I don't know what you want me to do. The reason she's not receiving any money is because I don't have any money. So I then started looking down that rabbit hole. And before I knew it, I got chewed up by that. And that's become one of my kill shots now. So I'm in talks with the guy I mentioned before about an alternative to CMS. Why does it work the way it does? Why is it as two equal parents in a loving relationship, regardless if you're a mum or dad, working or not working, you're both expected to contribute to that child. But then as soon as you split up, only one of you is. Why does it work like that? Surely, if you can both co-parent and afford that child together, why can't you do that separately? With the idea being both contribute the expected expenditure of an individual child together. So, I don't know, you can have your own separate bank account. Both of you put in half the expected wages into that account. There you go. There's no arguing there. It doesn't matter which one of you's rich, which one of you's poor, which one of you works, which one of you doesn't. You're both contributing half of what it costs to raise a child. That's an idea that's in the background at the moment. Probably my most crazy plan that I've got. Obviously, I walked around the coast to raise an awareness of a petition and a protest. But now I'm going to fly across it. So in March next year, I'm actually paramotoring from Land's End around the south coast, visiting each town on the way, stopping off on April the 25th in Portsmouth for National Parental Alienation Day. The reason I'm doing that is to promote a documentary that's being made on the family courts. I don't know if you've heard of the examples that have been made recently. I've noticed that there's been cases where things have been like on everyone's mind. Everyone's been talking about it. I'll give you an example. There was a series on Netflix that was released not long ago called Adolescence, I believe. It had that Scouse guy in it, and it was a one-shot thing all the way through. The theme of that program was like the children basically bullying each other through cyber, which leads to someone getting killed. And after that program was released, it was all over the news, all over TikTok, all over Facebook. Everyone was like, oh my God, we need to pay attention to this issue. And it got me thinking, really? That's what it takes for people to pay attention to a very obvious issue, is having it on telly in front of you in a nice format. Okay, right, fine. Let's go down that route. And then within the same week of that being released is when the director of this documentary got in contact with me, said he was making this documentary about the family court process. He's interviewed all these people. And I was like, what is the chances of that? Like this, I was trying to fill a gap. There was a capability gap that's missing here, and I couldn't fill it up. And now you've rung me out of the blue and said, I've got this that fits perfectly in this slot that you've got. I was like, well, that's what we need. Once we get that out, that is when people are going to start paying attention. So come March next year, that's what I'm going to be doing. Well, between now and then, to be honest with you, I'm going to be promoting the release of the documentary Love v Law. That is my on my agenda.
Looking forward to that. Is there anything that you want to share about your new brand that you've got coming up? Do you want to tell us about that and how you came up with the name?
Yeah, sure. Up until now, I've been known as Deadbeat Dad Bod. And that's obviously a play on the fact that I'm kind of a chubby git and I'm a court-ordered deadbeat. So I thought I'd just stand those together and that'll be my branding, as it were. But it's not very inclusive anymore of what the issue actually is. Whenever you hear deadbeat dad bod, you automatically assume it's a disgruntled dad, which I was when I started. So I thought I'm gonna change it slightly, and I'm gonna call it my next endeavor Project Travis. Travis being an acronym, and that acronym actually highlights all the things that need to change for the courts to make perfect sense. Transparency, reform, accountability. Don't ask me what the V is because I completely forgot off the top of my head. And the I and the S because now I'm on the spot. I will put those at some stage in the chat, I suppose. But Project Travis is my next endeavor, a more gender fluid, let's call it, movement, because it was very much. I hate to say it like this, but when I first started out, it was just lots and lots of dads. And it turned out there's hundreds of movements. Some of them are very big and some of them make a lot of money as well, which kind of ruffles my feathers a little bit, but that's a different argument at some point. I want people to find a happy medium and realize that it's crap for everybody. Like there is no winners or losers here. The way our court process works is that you've got to kidnap the child first, call the other one an abuser, and you win by default. It is really that easy. It doesn't matter what your genitals look like. You use those 3 simple steps and you will win in the family court every single time. That is what my new project is. Project Travis is inclusive for everybody. Now, what I'm not going to be doing with this is what you see a lot of other people do. And there's some of them I'll even promote. Honestly, they do some great work, but it seems to be that a lot of these people, I'm going to say charities, they say they want reform, but then at the same time, they will coach and help people through the current process we've got, which to me just seems bizarre. It's like, how can you want reform, but then you're actively telling people and showing people how to go through this meat grinder that you're trying to get people away from? So my idea with my movement is just stay away from it. If anyone rings me up and tells me, oh, can you help me through my court application? No. The best court application you can do is just rip it up and chuck it away. Do whatever you need to do outside that courtroom. You need to pay more. You need to kiss ass, because you're going to end up doing those 2 things in the courtroom anyway. So you may as well do it for free before you get in there. Mm-hmm. That is my end goal now. I spent the past, when did I finish the walk? March the 13th. 15th I finished. And since then, I've been inundated with people on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Someone even managed to get hold of my email. I don't know how they did that, but people messaging me again, can you go through my courtroom pack and help me with this? And up until now, I have done. Like, don't say that, do this, make it child focused. And I've had some successful stories. I've had some people that I assume got their kids back because I just never heard from them again. But it's just like, am I helping here, or am I just adding to the problem?
You've also got to remember, some people don't have a choice whether they're in family
Yeah,
or
yeah.
not. They're forced into it, and you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
just not turn up.
No, oh, God, absolutely.
I mean,
But I'm talking about people that are asking for advice on, what application should I put in? I've had people that say, oh, which application should I put in? Okay, the C100. What shall I write in it? Well, I don't know what happened. And then after I got the story out of them, I was like, look, rather than sending this application, why don't you just reword it and send it to the other parent and say, these are my concerns. Can we discuss these like adults? Because that tends to work a lot better than just going, surprise mother, here's a court application. You know what I mean? Now, I can't say that this is like, you've got a good point there, because it's not going to be a one size fits all for everybody. Obviously, there's going to be cases where you have to go to court. And that tends to be when there's anyone, be that children or adults in danger, or if someone's, my case, for example, I took my son's mother to court because she was moving away with my child that day.
mm-hmm.
So it's like, I've got no other option unless I counteract her kidnapping with further kidnapping. I've got no other option here. Hence, though, why I said on that speech is that shouldn't be an option for anybody to be able to kidnap your child.
Going through the courts as you have done, how much time do you get with your child, your son, isn't it?
I've got a son, yeah.
Yeah.
So the best way to answer that is to give you the time frame of each court application. So before we were in court, it was as close to 50-50 as we could get. I'd only just left the military, but I'd just moved into a new house and I was trying to get my stuff together. But my goal was, the reason I left the military and the reason I left my job after that was so that I could see my child more. And that was when I found out she was moving. When we went to court the first time on my court application, I had 3 weekends out of 4 and then half all the school holidays, which, yes, it was a nightmare. I was having to do a 300-mile round trip every 3 weekends, but I got to see my kids, so I not once did I ever complain about it. A year and a half later, I was then taken to court by the mother over some of the most ludicrous allegations, one of them of which being I was homeless, even though she sent the application to my house. Another one was that I slapped my child, even though he wasn't with me when this slap occurred. He was actually with her, and he never said it to anyone else except the mother. But anyway, after that is when I was given every other weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason I was given every other weekend is because I was a different judge, and this new judge said, it's a bit unfair having the child travel 300 miles around every weekend. And plus, it's been 9 months since he's last seen you. He's more pitted in and fitted with the mother. So, yeah, we're going to do it every other weekend with an 8-week reintroduction program. I was like, what happened? And I will never forget that the judge, he did it it wasn't a judge, it was a board of magistrates. They did the same thing 3 times in the courtroom where they were like, but don't you want what's best for the child? I was like, yes. And then they just say whatever they wanted, and that was what was best for the child.
I know that one very well. You do want what's best for the child, don't you, Mr. Love?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Oh, fantastic.
Good. Get out then. And then, so bearing in mind, when I was given the every other weekend, I was still living in Wiltshire. She was still living in Sussex. I then changed my job. I actually took up 2 jobs to pay off the debt I was in from paying my barristers and solicitors to get every other weekend. I then quit one of the jobs, got a new job that I could work fully remote and flexibly with, and moved to Sussex. I got my own 2-bed house on the seafront just so I could see my kid more. I moved to a town I didn't know anyone in. I had no family, no friends there. The only reason I moved to this town was to see my son more. And then anyway, going back to answer your question, how much do I see my son more now? I haven't seen him at all. I finished the walk back in March. 3 weeks after I finished the walk, I went to his sports day. He smiled at me, then saw his mum's looking at him, so he looked down, didn't look at me again. The very next day, I got a Kafkas letter saying that I ruined his day, and he was beside himself because I was there.
So you're in trouble for turning up and participating?
I'm not even participating. I just stood up. Usually I'm straight into the egg and spoon race, but this time I thought, no, I will back down. I'll just watch. He's seen me. I've seen him. I spoke to him, but then the mother got involved, and that stopped. A few days after that, I actually took my girlfriend to go watch his musical performance. His school was performing in a music display on the seafront. I went and watched him there. I texted him to say, no, I did come. I sent pictures of us because he couldn't see me. But what is interesting, though, is that although I haven't physically seen my son since I've been back, because
So other than those two
I haven't
events,
seen him.
that was...
That's it. He lives less than 2 miles away from me.
Mm-hmm.
I came back knowing this was going to happen. So I was like, right, let's go back to court. She said, no, we're not going back to court. You're not seeing him because you've been out of his life for so long, even though I spoke to him every day and FaceTimed him most days as well. My son's nearly 10. He's not stupid. He knows exactly what's going on. In fact, the last 2 days I walked non-stop because he said he was excited to see me. And I said, I'll be back on this day, but I was actually a day behind. Walked for 2 solid days to get back in time to see him. Still didn't see him. So I put in a C-79 enforcement order, which is what she was responding to on the Kafkas. Oh, he's ruined sports day. My son says he hates him. He doesn't want anything to do with him. He's got a new dad, the usual go-to gumph that she used to say. So I said, fine, I'm not doing this because I retracted my application. I can't go through this again because this is insane. Number one, I can send you a response right now with complete evidence that says everything she said on this list is bullshit, but you won't listen to that because you'll read it and go, actually, he's got a point here. Let him see his kid. That's not what will happen. It'll take 9 months, and in that 9 months, she's going to fill his head with as much crap as she can possibly do. I'm not doing this. Plus, I don't trust Kafkas as far as I can throw them. The process is ridiculous. I don't even know why we're in court. We've already got a court order. All I'm asking you to do is make her stick to it.
So you don't even know how your son... So you don't even know how your son is feeling about the whole situation?
I haven't seen him, but I speak to him quite regularly. Now, I know when this comes out, that's going to change, but it's going to prove my point even further. I actually speak to my son most nights on Roblox. Oh, he has me down as a friend from his school. He knows it's me, but he pretends I'm somebody else so that he doesn't get in trouble for talking to me.
So let me guess your game, dress to impress.
No. I'm a survive the night for 99 days kind of guy. That or brain rot, whatever it is. Basically, whatever he's playing. We were playing a game last night called Doors, and it's some horror game, and he was laughing his ass off at me getting scared at it because I can still talk to him through the device and everything. But every other Sunday, he'll talk to me in person through the game because his mum's actually away in Wiltshire collecting her other 2 kids. Mm-hmm. Big reveal here. She's actually got 3 kids, and I'm just one of 2 dads she's done this to. Mm-hmm. Whenever the mother's not at home, he'll ring me, which isn't nice, but it would be a lot nicer if I could just go and pick him up from school, bring him home. But the only way I can do that is not because I've done anything wrong, not because I've hurt anyone, not because I've abused anyone. I've not even been accused of doing. I mean, I have, but I'll get onto that some other point. But I've not done anything wrong. She just doesn't want me to. And the only way I can change that is by going in and spending my life savings on the world's most overburdened government body, on making a decision that is so mind-bogglingly easy to make, but it takes 9 months and costs me a fortune.
So there are a lot of parents struggling with this at the moment. I'm listening to your story, and I get to see my children once every 2 weeks. It's still not enough, but listening to your story, I'm thinking, okay, great. At least I get to see them for a couple of days. Yeah. You know, a couple of days every 14 days, it sounds better than what you've got. But I still find that really difficult to deal with and accept. How do you find that to deal with? And, you know, what do you do to stay positive? And what advice would you have for other people?
I hate it. I really do hate it. I can't put words to how painful it actually is not seeing my kid every day. If it wasn't for the fact that I get that breadcrumb of love your dad every now and again, I think I would have lost my mind way, way long ago. I obviously finished the walk now. I've had to get a proper livable home, a grown-up job. I can't just make crap jokes on TikTok and live in a tent forever. So that is what I've concentrated on up until this point. I've been quite quiet with the whole deadbeat dad bod movement just because I got back and realised I've been bitch slapped by adulthood again. But since I've been back and I'm now a lot more settled, I've actually got a routine. That's why I've decided now, right, I'm going to start pushing this out again. My theory being is, like I said before, numerous times, what I'm trying to get changed isn't going to benefit me in any way. Like even if she rung me up right now and said, "Can we get your kid?" I'd go get him. Sure, I would, and I'd probably go along the routine of every other weekend. But I'd still be pushing for this change because it is insane that this is the system that I'm going to leave for my kid one day. Nothing breaks my heart more than thinking that my son ringing me up one day and saying, "Dad, she's taking the kids. What do I do?" And my only advice to him is to go, "Shit that, mate. Just wait until they're older, they'll understand." Why is that so universally, again, accepted by everybody? Oh, you bastard. You didn't get there and shout abuse first. That'll teach you. It drives me nuts. So my efforts now are pushing for change. And at least this time I'm doing it with some financial backing, a roof over my head. And I've got a goal. I know what I'm talking about this time. Whereas last time I just went, right, that's it. I've had enough. I'm going.
I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head, really, isn't it? It's trying to change your mindset to talking about it. Okay, talking about it's not going to help. Petitioning's not going to help. Standing in front of the Houses of Parliament's not going to help. Walking 20,000 miles around the coast is not going to help. Can I do to channel these energies to actually make change? And I think that's one of the things that we all need to focus on. Because I do see more and more petitions coming up on TikTok and Instagram every day. And I think the same thing. We need to think of something different. And that's part of the reason for this channel as well. Reason being is that we can start to collate all the thought leaders in the community to be able to share their experiences and what can we specifically do for change. As you said in your speech, maybe it won't happen in a year, 10 years, in our lifetimes, but at least we are doing something to get there. We're taking the first steps. And again, with social media, like you say, people pay attention to social media. Now people are talking about it more than ever. It's no longer behind those closed doors. We're all talking about it openly. And again, that's one of the reasons for this podcast, that we can start to collate those types of people and that information of people that have been through it and of people that have got that experience and can share their knowledge. I think this can hopefully be a good thing for all of us. And again, a lot of it, believe it or not, has come from yourself. Like I said, I have to credit this whole channel to you for being that inspiration behind it. So again, thank you. So I'm very grateful for everything that you've done. I'd like to close every podcast that I have with a couple of positive questions. So my questions are, what 3 things are you grateful for?
I am grateful that my son's happy and healthy. Even with, no, it breaks my heart that doesn't have anything to do with me outside of financially. He's happy, he's healthy, and I can't ask for more than that. I'm grateful for the support I had, actually, because I thought when I left, I didn't have any intentions of finishing or coming back. I'm gone and I'll keep going until someone pays attention. And I'm also grateful for what I learned on it. Now, I struggled quite significantly when I finished the walk, obviously. I had no home, no work. I didn't have anywhere to go. If it weren't for my family and friends, I'd have been screwed, basically. But I was looked after quite significantly. I got my dream job, which I annoyingly applied for before I went on the walk and never got it, but now I have. And I'm grateful for that as well.
My final question is, what 3 things are needed to reform family court?
I mean, there's not going to be any reform at all until there's one sole person that can take accountability for the whole issue. People seem to think it's Andrew McFarlane. I know I said that during this, it's Andrew McFarlane's in charge of the family courts. No, he's not. He's just the guy that we all see. There's no one person. In fact, there's 14 different ministers that are combined that run the family court. So whenever you've got an issue with one, it happens to be another one's fault. And that's how they get around this whole infinite loophole. So there needs to be one sole.
That's the whole point in the judges, Kafkas and social services, isn't it? It's like, well, I don't make the decision. I look at the recommendations of the child agencies. The child agencies say, well, I don't make the decision. The judge makes the decision.
But the judge makes his decision based off what you two assholes write down on that bit of paper. But because there's no accountability, responsibility, there's no blaming. So until we've got someone that can go, right, it's your job to fix this, it's not going to happen.
So accountability.
Yeah,
Is that the aim?
Accountability. The second thing you'll need is you need to get rid of the financial incentives, because the amount of people that are making so much money out of this is insane. The charities that are just making the problem worse, and that's male and female charities, they're all pushing a narrative that the other gender's the worst thing ever. All you do is abuse us. All you do is frontally alienate us. You just need to stop that. The reason that narrative is out there is because it's getting pushed out by these charities that are making a lot of money to do so. And then the third thing I'd say that needs to happen for reform, I'm going to end with a bit of a funny one here. There should be someone hired outside a courtroom that just slaps you as you walk in. Grow up and co-parent. That would be the cheapest option for reform, actually. A French man with a white glove that just slaps you on the way in. What are you doing here? Grow up. That would solve 99% of the problem.
If he was employed by the government, then they could make some money off that.
There you go. They've made money off literally everything else ever. So why not this?
Michael, thank you so much for what you've done for me personally, and thank you for inspiring me. Thank you for being the inspiration behind this podcast. Thank you for being the first ever guest. Thank you for helping me test everything today and battling through it. We managed to get through it on a Teams call in the end with all the technical hitches that we had. So I really appreciate your time. Do you have a final message? Anything you'd like to share? Where can people find you online? What's the best way to connect with you?
So the best way I've got a Facebook group, which is just Deadbeat Dad Bod, all one word. I'm on TikTok as Deadbeat Dad Bod _1, I believe. And then those will be the best places to go to see any future stuff I do. So when I start doing my Project Travis stuff, I'll be pushing out from those outlets. And then for a final message, just keep fighting it. Don't keep fighting the other parent. Keep fighting the reason you're being made to fight them in the first place.
Thanks very much, buddy.
Oh, thank you very much.
My final message is, you are not alone. Stay strong.
Above all, stay alive. You have no idea how important you are. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.